Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Someone says, what's the future? Vaughn Coleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Before we get started, I, of course, just want to come out of the gate and show off my comic book, Phenomenova, Issue 1, Lightning Strikes, if it's your first time hearing about it. Basically, it's a superhero story set 20 years after World War III and follows the idealistic son of a war hero who strikes out to become a superhero. Link is in chat. We are at almost 700 signups. Issue 2 has 20 pages done, inked as of today, with 15 of them being colored. Out of 24. So we have made some very steady progress. The book is near complete. And the first one is complete and is just being printed. The mini prints have been printed. The trading cards have been printed. The posters, the stickers. That's all in hand. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check it out. But that's enough about me. Let's bring back a guest who I had on the show. I don't know how many episodes ago. I've kind of losing track. The way I keep track now is I'm like, all right, what I titled the last episode? Okay, we're on the next one. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's bring back Nandor Shaffer. How's it going?
Hey Vaughn, what's up, man? It's going really well. I'm so excited to be back. I think this is my return, to the Vaughn Coleman show. So I think we spoke. I think it was around in like the late spring with the Fabled Offering when it was on Indiegogo. But so it's been a few months, but we're back and I got a new book to share with you and your audience. So I'm excited to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about it too. So let me go ahead and we play the trailer first and then really dive into the campaign.
Sure, sounds good to me.
All right. So again, I don't know what it is about my specifically, I mention this all the time with people with Kickstarter, so I apologize if I mentioned to you. But with Kickstarters, for some reason, whenever I upload it on here, it does.
I'm Nandor Fox Shaffer.
It does. Oh, is it Nandor? I'm sorry. I thought it was Nandor.
No, you're good.
You got to correct people, man.
Yeah, well, I've done it for so long that I kind of get tired of doing it because it's just something that I have to deal with on a daily basis. So I let the myth grow,
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. All right. Well, Nandor, I didn't know that the whole time. So I've interviewed you before, and you got it. All right.
I don't even really notice it anymore. Like, to be honest, it's just something that I've kind of spaced out on. But it's all good. It's all.
See,
good.
past you was doing a better job of than you really. All right. You like the prequel trilogy? We'll get into that too. So much.
I'm Nandor Fox Shaffer, the head of Foxhole Comics, and welcome to the world of Man-Child. Man-Child is a commentary on comic book fandom that is one part Silver Age-inspired superhero adventure following the exploits of the Monarch Crier, and one part slice-of-life dramedy following super nerd Rufus Boston in an alternating narrative. This Kickstarter campaign is to raise funds for the production of Issue 3 of the 6-part limited series, and in this installment, we are introducing the Sadistic Six, all new villains within the Man-Child universe, while also spending a day with Rufus at Uncle Chester's comic shop on an unexpectedly busy new comic book day. We've successfully funded the first 2 issues, and both are available during this campaign, so you can jump into the series straight away. We're offering a limited edition variant covered by the Winter Soldier co-creator Steve Epting, as well as our first ever collector's gatefold cover, plus many more reward options. Man-Child offers everything a superhero comic fan could want, and everything you didn't know you wanted. Embrace your inner man-child and back this book today.
It's a great trailer. I do appreciate this, the not so subtle message. Everything you wanted, and it just pans to the hot chicks.
Yes, I'm glad you caught on to that. I was like, I don't know if anyone will catch that, but there was definitely intentionality behind it.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
Very subtle. I like it. So look at you, dude. You're what, 2 years older than me? You've got 9 projects under your belt. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Crazy.
Yes.
And you
Um,
finished all of them, correct?
I've fulfilled all of them. And you know, I always try to. I was trying my best to fulfill the fabled offering before I launched this guy here, and so this campaign. And thankfully, I made it just in time. I think I only have maybe like a few packages to send out that are international, but that's basically it. So yeah, I mean, this is Manchild. We're back with issue 3. I took a little hiatus between issues 2 and 3 to work on the Fabled Offering, but we're back, and you know we have a lot of new exciting material for everyone, and you know it's always such a uh, like challenging but exciting way to work on like an ongoing like or you know like a series that you have to keep pitching over and over again with every new issue and trying to find new ways to you know pitch it and to express like okay what's happening in this issue in particular that is
That's
different from
different.
the previous two and what makes this issue special, you know. So um, this one, it's going to be a 6 issue series, and this issue, you know, we're at the midway point with issue 3, and this is where I feel like the story and the characters and everything start to really click for everyone. You know, like this is the midpoint. If you read issues 1, 2, and 3, you don't like the series, you probably don't like it, right? It's just not
Mhm.
your thing, but um, it's really exciting. I can't wait to get this issue into people's hands because we got all new characters. You know, we have some awesome covers and a lot of cool things to talk about.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I just read the first Man-Child today. Um,
What do you think?
so
What do you think?
don't like the create. No, I'm kidding. I like it. I like it. Yeah, you know what I liked about it? First of all, is reading Fabled Offering and reading Man-Child back to back. Your range as a writer is, I mean, it's really great. You know, you could tell. I mean, like when you really dive into a genre, you really dive in. And Man-Child is it's very it's very earnest. You know, I think one of the things is because I'm almost one of those people that's like, not almost, I'm like sick generally of comic book commentary, but I was like, you know what? I'll get this for whatever. It's an add on. And it
Yeah,
really won me over, man. It was like, because
cool.
there's so many commentaries where I'm like, yeah, we get it. Nerds are fat. And it's like, yeah, but you're doing something with this that I don't know. I really dig. And it feels like, I don't know. I think one of the things I really like is you could definitely tell this is coming from a place of love for comics and also
Yeah.
almost like a reflective place.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, like I like this how we have Nandor the Foxman Shaffer, Jay the Magic, you know, like it's just like those old school, those Silver Age Spider-Man comics, like Smiling Stan Lee.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
You know,
Every issue has that. So we change it up with every issue, and you know it has its own kind of flavor, and that was a real, you know, I did a lot of research, and of course I've, you know, read many comics, hundreds thousands of comics, you know, from growing up and whatnot. I mean, I think I have like 25 to 30, you know, boxes of comics in my office here, and so, and you know, on top of that, all the graphic novels that I've read, and you know, it's in my DNA, right? Like these things, you know, stick with you. And when I was coming up with this series, you know, it all started after Stan Lee passed away. I wanted to do something in his honor. I wanted to do something, um, however, you know, which way that I could kind of capture that lightning in a bottle or that energy that the 60s Marvel age of comics was able to capture. I wanted to try to inject that into a story that would be coming out now. And I wanted a comic that you could look at the art, you could look at the cover, and you could, you know, put it side by side with a regular Silver Age comic, and you know, it would look like it came of that period. You know, it looks somewhat identical to what some people may have grown up with, right? But that wasn't enough for me. I didn't want to just do another nostalgia book. You know, there's a lot of superhero comics that are kind of nostalgia bait, or just, you know, they're a love letter to that era, but they don't really do anything else except maybe comment on that era. And I wanted to do something where we're just embracing the era wholeheartedly. And then you're reading about Rufus and his story, and that's where all the commentary really comes in. And the conversation you're having with the story and the reader is that contrast between the heroes that we look up to and the actual real people in the real world who love these heroes and in these comics. And so that juxtaposition and that contrast was something that to me was the most interesting, and like what made me excited about this story and wanting to pursue this because, like I said, I didn't want to just do a slice of life book about being a comic book fan, and I didn't want to just do a superhero story. So I was like, okay, what if we did both, and we could give readers two stories in one. And that was where it all started to really click for me. And I could play with the subtext of everything and make people who love comics and enjoy comics, like, they can see where the deep cuts are and they can appreciate those. But also for people who may have been out of comics for a long time, people who grew up in the 60s and 70s who read those comics, they could pick this up and be like, man, this reminds me of my childhood, right? And like that's the whole point of Man-Child. It's like we're turning that, we're flipping it on its head, and we're trying to embrace it and trying to put it on trial. That's kind of the rhetoric that I like to use with it. It's like, what is because it's a derogatory term, right? And so it's like, how do we reconcile with that, with pop culture being such a huge part of our everyday lives? It's like, it used to be stigmatized, right? It used to be stigma that like, oh, we love comics, we love, we're nerds, blah blah blah. Now it's cool. Now it's a cool thing, So that's what makes it like, that's what makes the story on fire for me.
Yeah, one of the things, like, you could really feel this is, you wrote it during this time period where Stan Lee had just passed away, because I remember that.
Yeah, right.
I really do. And just even this one part where it's like, like you could tell it's like no one else gets it. In his life when he's trying to explain it.
Yeah, you have that one coworker that's like, I thought he already died, like, because you have those people that have no idea, and when something really tragic happens to you, or someone who you look up to passes away, and you meet that other person that they have no connection to that, and it's like, man, if you only knew the magic that this person brought to my life, and that's like Stan Lee for me, and many other creators, but like that was I felt like the world was lesser, it was a different world with someone like Stan Lee not in it anymore. And it's it'd be like, once like, I hope it never happens, but it's gonna happen, because it's a reality. But it's like, if George Lucas passes away, it's like,
oh,
that's
man,
gonna be a freaking
we're gonna live through all of it, man. We're gonna live through all of it. We just lost James Earl Jones.
Yeah, and with James Earl Jones just passing out, as we get older, I'm learning about what it's like to face death, and have people we look up to and our idols and everything pass away, because these actors and these people that we adore, we grew up enjoying their work when we were, in our teens and our tweens and previous, and in our childhood and our formative years. And it's like, they're not getting any younger, and it's like,
neither are we.
Yeah, neither are we.
It
So
makes you want to put the pedal to the metal, I feel.
Right. It does. It really does.
Some people are like, Vaughn, look what you accomplished at 25. I'm like, I'm already 25. I'm like a quarter of the way there. Maybe more.
It's never enough. It's never enough. Like, this is my, ninth project, like, and my seventh book that is coming out here. And I'm just like, wow. Like, I'm very happy about that. I'm excited about it. But I'm also like, I feel like I should have done more,
There it is. There it is. So it's good to know. So in 2 years, well, here's the thing. If I don't have 9 books when I'm in 2 years, because you're 27, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if I don't have 9 books out, I have to do 8 more.
You gotta catch up. You gotta catch up, man.
You gotta catch up, man. Crazy. You don't realize how many like boring almost steps there are.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, or how many extras, like things like, what's one thing that I was actually kind of blown away. It's one of the reasons I love the indie scene. And one of the reasons I'm liking making comics, it makes me appreciate things about the art form that I've read hundreds of comics that I never thought of. Like Bleed Lines, had never thought of it. Or this, or the fact, I had thought of stuff. You do something really interesting. I'm not sure if it's your printer, if you ask for it with the spine here. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Right.
I never felt like when I read the first page, I was like, whoa. You somehow. So it's hard to describe or really show on camera.
Yeah.
But Nandor does something where it's like, I don't know how you do this, man. Where it's like the double page spread almost has like a double fold, so that way it's seamless.
Yeah.
You hold it out, and you could just see every detail of these double page spreads. And there's a lot of double page spreads in this book.
There is. That's something that Marco really wanted to do, and something I kind of I enjoy a lot. I love double page spreads in my stories because there's a cinematic element to it, but also it's about pacing, right? And for me, what I love to do with double page spreads is to set the stage, set the scene. This is an important moment. This can't be constrained to the bottom of a page, and it can't just be necessarily one splash, but to make the reader take time with it, and because there's a lot to go through in Marco's art. He's very detailed, and so that was something that was a conscious decision. And because as trying to do like a 48-page book that has no chapter breaks, it's something that you have to really kind of figure out, because you're like, okay, there's no breaks here. What are our breaks? And it's like, those are the splash pages. Those are the ways that you can give the reader time not to feel overwhelmed by reading all the text and trying to follow the story. It's like, okay, you can kind of like breathe a little bit. It's a breather moment. And so that's what chapter breaks are for people. But in comics, you can do that with splash pages.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of phrasing it, and it's something I'm still learning.
Yeah.
As a writer, I'm trying to temper because I have so many ideas, and I'm like, 24 pages is not enough.
It's not enough.
And I was even I'm like, oh man, I like sometimes like David Mazzucchelli would put so many panels, but then he'd have a splash.
Yeah.
Panel. Like there's I pointed out one in Born Again the other day.
Yes. Yeah, that got a lot of flack.
Yeah, which is none of the criticisms were all things I didn't say. John said he hates Jim Lee. I'm like, no,
they always are. It's never what you say, right?
Yeah, I literally say I love Jim Lee. Literally,
he's like your favorite artist, right?
There's a week earlier tweet where I'm reading Extinction Agenda, going, "This is awesome," and it's four panel pages.
Yeah,
and they're like, "I can't believe you hate Jim Lee." I look into, I literally, hang on, let me just close this. My screen background right now is Jim Lee X-Men, but I guess I hate Jim Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
News to me.
Yeah. Who knew? He's just everywhere, in my room.
You know what it is? I just decided on a whim after like a week earlier saying how much I love Jim Lee that I hate him. Because if I like Dave Mazzucchelli, I can't like Jim Lee. That's how it works.
Right. Yeah. Well, I posted, speaking of Jim Lee, I was asking people how iconic is the X-Men #1 fold out cover, like, is that an iconic piece of art? And I had quite a handful of people, say like, yeah, it's only iconic because they printed, 8 million copies. And I'm like, no, wait a second. Like just because they printed all these copies, it doesn't mean that Jim Lee's art isn't iconic. I mean, I look at that X-Men #1 and I'm thinking to myself, this is pretty epic, right?
Yeah, I'm about to get to that issue. I'm almost done with Claremont's run.
Yeah,
even if you don't like the story, it's an iconic cover.
That's my thing. That's my thing. Like, there's been so many homages to it. Anytime you like copy a cover, and you want to kind of harken back to it and homage it, like, I mean, that's another form of flattery. That's basically you saying that this is an iconic cover that you want to replicate. And with our own gatefold cover for Manchild, that's what Ben and I were all about. Like Ben Morse is the artist for our gatefold cover, and we reversed it. In the X-Men #1 cover, it's all the heroes going against Magneto. The X-Men flocking towards Magneto, and the Manchild issue 3 gatefold cover, it's all the villains flocking towards our hero. So we kind of changed it up a little bit, but that was definitely an inspiration that Ben Morse, the cover artist, wanted to do. And I'm like, you know what? That's so cool. Like I'm all for that. And I love gatefold covers. I love like little gimmicks like that. Like I think they're
I
so
didn't know
cool.
that was what it was called.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
because I remember always seeing that was the X-Men #1 cover, and I was like, how is that possible? And now,
right.
And then I got it, and and I was like, oh, because I was like, what do you mean? That's not a cover. That's like 4. Oh, it is 4 covers.
Yes, yeah. So that's what we
how
did.
You do. That's a good way to do a variant. Not obviously. Look, I've done variant covers, right?
Yeah,
that is a good way to do it.
Yeah, because it's something completely different, and also you're getting, it's not something you see in the indie scene like at all, really, and so it's a unique thing. And then we have so many other variant covers for issues 1 and 2, and a lot of different options for people. I've been able to work with just some of the most amazing artists and creators, for the series, and they're all artists and creators of superhero books that I love, which I think just lends itself to Manchild. The whole point of the book and the whole point of that is I'm living out my own Manchild fantasies by working with artists that I grew up loving and enjoying their work and all that stuff. So it's very meta in that way. There's a meta narrative to all this.
That's really cool, man. And I like all these different styles. I want to ask, because it seems like issue 1, from what I've I say from what I've read. All right, so in issue 1, it seems like they're kind of just setting up where it's going.
Yeah,
that it's like that because you have our main hero and also you have our protagonist, and they're kind of separate. And they only just see how they're kind of connected at the end. And it seems, how many issues is this going to be? It seems, is it going to be a limited?
Yeah, it's going to be 6 issues.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, because Stan Lee, that was obviously 2022, and actually, hold on, that wasn't that long ago.
No,
I'm like, wow, that was a while ago, and it wasn't.
No, it kind of was. It was actually, I believe, at the end of 2018 or 2019.
Oh, was it 2018? Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, why did I think it was 2022 for a second? I was like, no, there's no way. It was a while ago. Okay, yeah. 2018. So, with this being, did you, I guess, want to take a break from this while you were working on other projects, or?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where, I had finished issues 1 and 2 and printed them, and then Jay and I were working on the character designs for the Sadistic Six, and he had some other work that he was doing, and so I thought, okay, while he's working on this other stuff, I'll work on the Fabled Offering, and I'll make that book and get that done. And by the time that I'm done with the Fabled Offering, Jay, the artist of Manchild, will be ready to go. And so anytime my artists are busy or they're working on other projects, that's similar things have happened with my series Seasons, which I have the first 2 volumes out, but we're working on volume 3 right now. But Anthony has been working on other projects, in the meantime. So I've been juggling, like 3 or 4 different series that I do, and trying to, meet the artists, in their timeline, in their preferred timeline, and what they need. And so now though, like Jay and I, we're pretty much set on finishing the series. Hopefully we can get issue 3 out, and then we'll only have 4, 5, and 6 left, and we can knock those out either by the end of next year or early 2026, or the last issue will come out. So
4, 5, and 6 will.
Yeah. We're firing on all cylinders. We both are pretty determined to get the series done as quickly as possible. But it also all depends on how successful the campaigns are. It's
Right.
like if we raise so much more money, then the issues will just come out even faster. But if we're just kind of just hitting the goal or a few $100s, over the goal, it's still
Yeah.
it's still coming out at a somewhat regular pace, but it's not as fast as it could be.
Exactly. And that's why, because people are like, well, why fund it now? I'm like, well, because when the first one is in your hands, you'll say, I want the next one. And I want the
Yes.
next one.
Yeah.
And I'll be
Right.
like,
Right.
okay, we have to stop, get the money again.
Yeah.
Stop, get the money again. And it's like, that's why, because I was like, oh, I want to just keep getting them out like that. And I can, as long as people keep, supporting it, which is why it's always important to support people like Nandor who are really, that if you fund him, you give him like all this money, that it's going toward the book and you will get a return on your investment,
Yeah. Yeah, I've never, had any issues with fulfillment. I've, never run into anything. Everything comes out at a pretty timely manner. I mean, the Fabled Offering was the
That was
longest
fast.
book. Well, thank you. To me, I was like, crap, this is kind of taking too long. But so I'm glad that people are, they're very kind, very forgiving, as long as you update people and you give them what they pledged, right? It's like that's the whole thing. Like you don't false advertise. You give everyone what you say you're going to give them. And if things are late, at least let people know why, and hopefully they'll understand, and hopefully you have a good reason. That's my thing. Is like if you have a legitimate reason, there's I understand. Like Marco, my artist for the Fabled Offering, he lives in Chile, and his whole like country city was like on fire. He had a massive
Wow.
wildfire, and he had to stop for a little bit, and recoup, and then get back onto the pages. But he got onto them as quickly as possible, and then I got the trading cards in for Fabled Offering, and they were misprinted, so I had to order a new batch, and that slowed things down. So, but I always let people know like what the reasons are. So that's always important. But yeah, we just launched Man-Child issue 3 on Monday. We're on the 5th day, and we're already over halfway funded. So
Good stuff, man.
this has been good. This has been a good, successful launch. Of course, I want it to be funded as soon as possible. But comparing to my other campaigns, especially the previous 2 Man-Child issues, this has been the most successful launch that we've had so far. So
yeah, man, that's good. So you're still going up. That's awesome.
yeah, and we gotta talk about Steve Epting, right? We gotta.
Yeah. Tell me about that. I mean, that's a pretty big. I remember you were like, you posted something like, and you hear this all the time. But you're like, I'm doing something huge.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
You hear that, but I'm like, with this guy, like, I trust there's something big. Just the excitement, even though I couldn't hear your voice or anything, just the excitement with you posting it. I was like,
Yeah.
this guy.
I don't ever post anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not I'm not an exaggerated voice. I don't do a lot of hyperbole or anything like that. And I don't use that kind of language. And so like for me, this was my time to be like, you know what? I'm going to cash in. I'm going to use that. I'm going to be like, hey, this is my, not my claim to fame, but just my moment where I can get people hyped with me because I was so hyped. And, Steve Epting is my all-time favorite artist. He's the artist whose work I got into comics because of, and Captain America became my favorite character. And if anyone doesn't know who Steve Epting is, just look at probably all your Captain America comics that you have that feature Winter Soldier, and you'll see his name in the credits. He is the co-creator of the Winter Soldier character. And he's done he's worked with Jonathan Hickman on the Fantastic Four. He's worked with Hickman on his Avengers run that he did with New Avengers. Steve Epting has done Velvet with Ed Brubaker. He worked with Ed Brubaker on Captain America. He did a lot of Avengers stuff in the 90s. And he is like the epitome of a modern artist who evokes that sense of classic superhero storytelling, and you can't look at his artwork and not feel it like jumping out at you and feel like these characters are superheroes. He just has that stylistic flavor to his work. And so this was huge for me. I mean, not only did I get to work with a legendary artist, I got to work with my favorite legendary artist. So, dreams come true. And this book in particular has allowed me to work with people I never thought I'd be able to. And, he loved the design of the character. He liked the story. I sent him all the new villains and everything. And he was like, this is just one of those, he said, this is one of those times where everything just kind of clicks into place,
That's awesome.
And I was like, wow, like, let's do it.
And you got in touch with him, like,
it was a cold call. It was a shot in the dark email that
wow, that is crazy.
Like,
I mean,
I always tell people, you just have to try. You just have to try, and all of my collaborations that I've had, I mean, of course, you want to be respectful of their time. And if they say no, accept it, right? You don't want to be pushy. You don't want to be like, oh, wait, but I have this idea. You want to put it out there. And I think what's really, everyone loves to work with people who are nice to work with. There's nothing wrong. And, if you're not on the same level as someone, don't feel like you're lesser than them just because, they're working on pro books and you're not. Like, the point is, hey, I love your work. I feel like your work would be amazing with this comic that I'm making. What do you think? And then it's up to them, and it's like, I think a lot of people are shy and kind of hesitant to reach out to people who, have been working on, pro books at Marvel and DC. But, artists love to have fun. They love to draw fun things, and they love to draw things that are different from anything else that they're working on. And so if you give someone an opportunity, and of course, you have to pay them well, you have to be able to do that. But if you're willing to do that and the price is right and everything works out and they're excited, there's no reason, there's no reason to kind of shoot yourself in the foot and be like, I'm just, I'm not going to try. I've made so many connections just by reaching out and introducing myself and, sending my work. I mean, it's important. If you say you're a writer, if you say you're a creator, send them your work. Like, you can't just say that, like, prove it. Let them be able to read your stuff. Let them be able to see.
I love when people can do that. Like,
yeah.
Come to your show. Here's some of my work. And I apologize. By the way, that's another thing. If I haven't gotten back to someone, it's okay to remind me again. Like, you do that, and I like that.
Yeah.
Because people are always like, "Oh, I'm not gonna bother," and I get it. Look, I'm sure I've bothered people.
Yeah.
But,
right.
But
right.
You're going to accept that some people are going to be bothered.
Yeah.
You want to go through your whole life walking on eggshells and on thin ice. It's like, oh, yeah, it might bother some. Yeah, you might, or you might just be in your house and never make connections.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Make the choice.
That's my thing. Like, I mean, I can take a hint, right? Like, I mean, after a couple of times, if no one gets back to you, it's like, okay, like, we're good. It's all good. Like, they're busy or they don't want to talk with me, and that's okay. But you have to, like, allow yourself to try a couple times. I mean, maybe that message you sent them was on a bad day, or maybe they were busy that day. It's like, you just got to follow up, and that's helped me a lot. I mean, follow up, like in terms of networking, the best advice I can give people sometimes is, like, follow up with people. Don't just send an email and be like, they never got back to me, I don't know what to do. It's like, well, follow up with them, be like, hey, like, and just be nice about it. Don't be a dick about it. Don't be like, hey, you never responded.
Yeah, like, sometimes be like, hey, I don't mean to hound you.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure.
Just be civil and like, did you see my message? Like, I'm excited to work with you. All those things like that. You just gotta be polite.
What you gotta understand too is there's always going to be a way your message can be read, especially if it's over text, that you do not say it in.
Exactly.
I mean, even in person, you could interpret something the wrong way, but like over message, there's things I'm like, that sounded sass, or that someone, or like, I'll send someone a message like that. Vaughn, that came across. I'm like, that is not how I sent that message. Like, wow, you're being a jerk to me. Like, what?
Yeah,
I was complimenting you. Oh, okay. It's like, so But that's the whole thing. And but yeah, networking is everything. I remember learning that at when I was at film school, that was the advice I was given in general.
Yeah.
Applies to comics, applies to everywhere, but it's, you know, in entertainment, you know, you really want to make sure that, and it doesn't mean you have to get along with everybody, but what it does mean is that you have to you know, network. And
Yeah, you have to be professional. You have to like put your best foot forward and take rejection well, and you know, be professional about it. And then when things do work out the way you want them to work out, yeah, be excited about it, and let people know and share that, and let your collaborator know. I mean, you know, I told Steve Epting, I was like, dude, you have no idea how much this means to me. Like you couldn't even comprehend, you know, like how big of a deal this is for me. But you know, I tried to be professional about it, but at the same time, it's like it's exciting. Like I can only imagine someone feeling that way working with me, how exciting and like refreshing that would be, you know. So um I'm sure Steve draws a lot of Captain Americas. You know, he does a lot of sketches. He's, you know, taking a lot of commissions. So to be able to be like, hey, but I have this butterfly guy, you know, it's like
and then he'll be like, yeah.
Here.
I will say, to be fair, I mean, like for example, I every time I'm at a con with Graham Nolan, he draws like so many different Banes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, you sick of drawing Bane yet? He's like, you know, I remember one time, like, how many Banes
like,
you draw in this
con?
He's
like, I could draw him in my sleep, probably, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
like, you know, and to be fair, I was about to commission to get a Bane from him, and I was like, I think he's gotten enough. But you know, next time I see him, I do want to get a Bane and a Firefly.
Curveball. Yeah, maybe
I
maybe
do,
like,
but I also do want Bane. That's
you could be like, could you do
want to get him to do something
Bane
else? And like, as a friendly with him,
someone.
I want him to do this.
Yeah,
but also as a Bane Batman fan, you know.
Yeah,
and I guess that's one of the things that's cool about being an independent is we're not in a box yet. Like you especially have stayed out of a box. I mean, look at what you've done. You're like the first time I interviewed you, you're like, yeah, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And even then, this superhero story, you could go ahead and do another superhero story and have it be totally different. Like the Man-Child is its own.
It's its own thing. Yeah. No, I feel you there. You know, I didn't want to. You know, there's a hesitation in the indie world, and I've seen this a lot where, you know, it can feel like indie superhero books are just the fan fiction version of a Spider-Man story, or of, you know, oh, this character isn't called that, but he looks a lot like them, you know. So it's like you have to be a little bit more careful with it, and that's something with Man-Child that I wanted to do. That's why, you know, it's called Man-Child, and people are like, is the superhero character called Man-Child? I'm like, no, like that's not.
That's what I was wondering too. I didn't know until it's the Monarch.
Until you read it, right?
Yeah, well, because I'm like, this guy is not. Because I was looking at the cover, and then I'm like, wait a minute, let me check the Steve Epting cover. I'm like, there's a weight difference.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for it to kind of loop around. I was like, how is this gonna loop around? How is this gonna, you know? And I was figuring it out, and it's cool. And one of the things I also like about, you know, Man-Child, well, first of all, I find it interesting that you chose, because, you know, normally we're always choosing the most badass character. You choose a butterfly man.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So it's exactly probably, you know, what you're thinking is like, it's the most non-threatening thing ever. You know, a butterfly is soft, it's fragile. It's also very feminine. It's like a feminine symbol,
right?
Way, you know, and
absolutely.
that was the whole reason I chose it. Was it was the exact opposite of masculinity, and I wanted to make a character that represented that, and could kind of accent and emphasize that as you know, as much as possible, to be like, hey, this is a man, this is a strong superhero masculine character, but he has butterfly wings, you know, and he's fragile at the same time. And you know, I think for me, there's a spectrum of masculinity, and also the stigma of what it means to be a man. And like, hey, you know, you gotta be tough, right? You know, you gotta be a hero. You gotta, like, you know, have the world on your shoulders. and all that's, fine and dandy, all that's great, but I think there's something really telling about the reason why men, can be so uh, overly gruff or overly, overcompensate.
Yeah.
Not be a shoulder to cry on if you need, a friend and things like that. So, I wanted to, again, it's kind of all in the subtext of the character, but also with the butterfly. I mean, the whole idea, right, is metamorphosis. The whole idea is we have Rufus, who is this overweight, um, virgin, uh, comic book nerd who doesn't look like he could, accomplish much. And he's kind of stuck. He's stuck in his cocoon.
Mhm.
And you have the Monarch Crier, who is a butterfly, who is a man who is successful, who is saving the day, who is fighting bad guys, who's everything that Rufus, would want to be. And so you have that contrast. And to me, I'm trying to uh, convey to the reader that there's definitely a difference here. There's definitely a difference in masculinity and in how these characters relate to each other, and how, I mean, why do we idolize superheroes so much? Is because we want to be them. We want to have the muscles, right? Like we want to have the girl. We want to have the fame and be able to save people and have a purpose. And so that's something that Rufus is looking for. And that is what the Monarch Crier, this butterfly superhero character, is, And so, in that way, again, it's my way of trying to subtly talk and have that conversation with the reader about, hey, these two things aren't alike. This fantasy and reality of who a real hero is and who we are as comic book nerds, they don't always mesh well, but we can see the
Right.
connective tissue, and we can still try to, like, I mean, the whole idea is, we still want to, like, strive for that ideal. We
Right.
want to be a hero, but just because you might not look like one, it doesn't mean you're not one.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you can't be, and that to me is can be a powerful message to use.
Absolutely. No, I'm in agreement with that. I think it's something really special about that. And I think it comes across. I think, because man child was almost like, and it is, an insulting term in some ways, but that you find nuance in it.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
notice. And it's like, because you empathize with this main character, like, yeah, he's whatever. And so it's kind of making fun of him, but it's also like, yeah.
It's being honest, I think.
How you
I think
doing?
it's an honest
There we
kind of
go. And then
portrayal of the kind of it's a funny
there we go.
comment.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, because you were asked, give me an intellectual answer, and then this rolls in.
Yeah.
So I was like, I laughed, and I'm like, no.
Right.
Continue.
Well, so one thing I do want to point out with Rufus in particular too is, he fits all of these stereotypes of what a man child is, and that's where we find him, of course. But I mean, that's the whole point of the series, is to show his evolution, to hopefully whatever can kind of knock him out of his cocoon, knock him out of his rut that he's in, and this place of being stuck. And so with Rufus in this new issue, tragedy strikes while he's working at the comic book store, all on his own. And this issue is called The Wednesday Warrior. And there's a reason for that. So, I'm playing with that idea again, of something that, we call ourselves Wednesday Warriors, but what are we actually fighting for? To beat the next person to get our comics, like what are we a warrior for?
Yeah, it's always these terms that we. It's almost like, how in Fight Club, it's like, or there you'll see those things like the masculine urge to die in a war.
Yeah,
like
right.
How many times a day do men have fantasies where I'm gonna fight that guy?
A glorious death. Yeah.
It's like, oh, there will be like that fantasy where it's like that guy's gonna run in and I'm gonna save the day, and it's like, dude, and then it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or, like, oh, I'm gonna confront this person. Then normally you see them and you're like, I actually don't really. I just won't talk to him. Like, it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and it's always interesting. But yeah, I do think like those kind of warrior titles. It's just again what I like about Manchild is just an earnest look. That's just how it comes across.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. And so, well, I guess we want to get through Manchild first. I'm almost like, so where to next? But where to next is issue 4, and where to next is issue 5, and where to
That's
next is
right.
issue 6, which is good, man. I had an 8-issue plan, which everyone told me not to do, but my heart was telling me to do it. Now, will I have regrets later? Who's to say? But I know I wrote it, and I know I like what I wrote.
Well, good. That's all that matters. You got to stick to your, stick to your vision. Yeah. Yeah.
So where do the hot chicks come in? Because there was not that in issue 1. So because the butterfly chick now.
So she's those are not her wings, just so you know. It's just a butterfly on fire. Because
right.
You can see slashes through the butterfly wings, and that's from her sword, and she has it on fire. So to me, the composition kind of speaks for itself in showing, she's slashing through the Monarch Crier's wings, on her way to Rufus, in our reality. These two realities are separate. And so it's the first time on a cover that we've seen, a character who is on this other world, like interact with Rufus, so that was kind of the fun little idea that I had with that. But her name is Highness Helen, and her along with the Crane, those are the two characters on the really sexy cover above, but they're part of
backers like those. I was gonna have one of those covers, kind of, but I don't know if I'm going to.
Well, I really loved her design, and Jay and I had done such a good design for her that for both of them that I was like, you know what, like, again, being a man child, someone who's like, I want that sexy cover, right? Like we want that Starfire cover.
Yeah.
We want that Jean Grey cover. We want that Emma Frost cover, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I wanted to do something like that and stick to the theme. It sticks to the theme. I'm not really a fan of NSFW stuff. I mean, and I don't really, that's not why I buy comics. I'll just put it that way. And that's not what I want to offer my audience either. But, there's again, this series is really about being honest, what it means to be a comic book fan. And right. Hey, if we're being honest, we love getting these sexy covers, and we love going to the store and be like, oh, there's a new Art Germ cover, like, hey, I want that one. Or, we got, these like an Adam Hughes cover, right? So there's a lot of great artists who do, draw women just so well and so beautifully. And so I got to work with Nathan Lorenzana for this cover. He's done a couple covers for Dynamite and Titan Comics and other projects. But I wanted to feature Highness Helen and the Crane and do a really cool, it's very, I don't know, it's very picturesque, and it has this classic look to it. And of course, the Crane is in a crane pose, and Highness Helen is sitting like on a throne, so to speak. And so it all, fits with the idea for the characters. But I love it. It's something I'm really, really proud of.
Yeah, man, I really like it too. I had one of those covers I was gonna do, and I hired a guy specifically who's drawn some Vampirella stuff, who's drawn whatever. Yeah. And then he draws the composition I have in mind. He goes, and then here's a different one that I just drew for fun. And it's not even like a sexy one, but I was like, God damn it, that one has a better storytelling. That one's cooler. All right, I hired you for this reason, but we're going, And sometimes that happens, and sometimes the kid just let it happen.
Yeah, sometimes you just fall into it, right? It kind of depends. I mean, there are some times when you work with an artist and you're not looking for that, but they add that flavor to it.
Or in this case, where it's less so, but I'm like, it's okay. Like, because where this one character like ended up having like more whatever armor, and I'm like, yeah, but it looks cooler. It looks, and then I'd see the clothing version. I'm like, I'll be honest, I actually kind of like the more clothing. Sometimes it happens.
Right.
You never know. But man, these all look great. Because obviously you have the main cover is very Silver Age. It has a very distinct look on the inside. It's I don't want to say it's almost minimalist. I'd say with the backgrounds.
Yeah, it is. It is. Jay kind of prides himself in, you know, the clean line work, right? And so he's very much inspired by Ditko and Buscema and Mazzucchelli and also Chris Somney, people like that. And he tries to implement that. And also, if you read a lot of Silver Age books, there's a lot of four color backgrounds. There are times where it's just a blank yellow background or red or green. There's a lot of green, and so we wanted to stick to that. We wanted to keep it as true to the era when it comes to the Monarch Crier and his stories. And that's something with this cover. We have a nice bright yellow background.
Yellow background.
Yeah, like how many Silver Age
comics.
books have you seen? Or it's just like this nice bright yellow.
Yep. Already, first thing I pulled to. There we go. Yellow background.
Yep. Exactly.
Always. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things where it's like that's why one of the things I'm like, look, I like my detail. I'm never gonna yell at my artist for adding too much detail. But I'll be like, listen, there's some stuff where I'm like, especially if there's word balloons that are just gonna cover it up, it's like, you don't want it to be like distracting from the main action.
Exactly. Right.
But it's not. I'm not one to art direct or anything. I just pick up what I put down. But if it looks good, it looks good. And I another thing is these books have two totally different art styles. I imagine working with them is totally different.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So are we in between Man-Child 4, 5, 6? I imagine your other books are available on this campaign too, right?
Yeah, so they're available as add-ons. So you can get issue 2. You can get the Fabled Offering. You can also get my other book, Lifeline, and I don't have seasons on there because I've sold out of both of my hardcovers.
That's good.
I think I have a few of volume 2, but I'm saving those for. I'm going to be doing a trade paperback collection of issues of volumes 1 and 2. And that's going to be my next campaign that I do hopefully in the spring is what I'm shooting for. But as we prepare, as Anthony and I prepare for volume 3 of Seasons, I need people to read volumes 1 and 2. People who have missed out, who might be fans of Man-Child, might be fans of the Fabled Offering. My fan base has grown and grown since I've last done Seasons. So I'm kind of going to be reintroducing that series to my fan base and to the world. And so once we get those trade paperbacks out, we're going to be launching volume 3 of Seasons, which we're going to offer a hardcover and a trade paperback edition for people who have already picked up the hardcover collections, so that their bookshelf looks nice, right? We need to keep everything. Us nerds, we like to keep things uniform, so same format, right? And then I got a post-apocalyptic noir story that I've written that I'm very excited.
That is a combination I haven't heard.
Yeah. It's something. It's my proudest thing I've ever written. I'm most proud of it. So
you got a fan. Like I liked having you on the show, but I hadn't read any of your work yet. Now you got a fan, so I'm interested.
Thank you, man.
Well, it was earned. I was working on noir actually yesterday, even earlier today a little bit.
Cool.
My buddy, but. Post-apocalyptic noir is something I've never seen that.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of Cormac McCarthy's work. I'm a big fan of a lot of, Ed Brubaker's crime stuff that he does, and like Criminal and the Reckless series, and there's a lot of great. I'm also a huge fan of old movies. I love like old noirs, and huge fan of Paul Schrader's work in a lot of his films. So there's a lot of there's a lot of that in this new story that I've written, and I've been pitching it around to publishers right now and seeing who bites. But it's like I said, I'm the most proud of it. It's a really it's a really dark story, but it's also the most meaningful to me. And you know, I'm glad you noticed the range, because that was something I set out to do with my stories. I really want to show people. That's been my whole business model, is like, I don't want to be known as the guy who did Band Child. I don't want to be known as the guy who did Seasons. I want to be known as the guy who did it all. You know,
Wow, what
who was good at it all too. You know, like when, you know, it's not like, man, like you should stick to that genre. You know, it's like, if you're gonna prove your mettle as a writer, for me, this is a challenge to myself. I kept telling myself, if I'm going to prove myself to people that I can do this and that I'm good at it, I can't be comfortable all the time. You know, I can't just do superhero stuff. I can't just do what I enjoy. I got to stretch my muscles and do something different, you know, take a new workout on. Right. And so that's what the Fabled Offering was. And man, I've had handful of people message me and tell me this is the best thing you've ever done. And I'm like, I'm happy about that, but also I'm like, that's my first sci-fi story I've ever written ever, you know? So it's like, that's what I aim to do. I aim as high as possible. And if I fail at doing it, that's okay, because at least, you know, I aimed high. And that's all I've ever done with all my stories, is like all or nothing. Right.
There's obviously a fear of failure, but you can't do it to the point where like you never try anything. Like you want to be like obviously afraid of telling bad stories and whatever, but don't want to do it to the point where it's like it because it's okay to write bad stuff. You just don't want to publish it. And if you do, you can amend it.
Right.
You know, it's at the end of the world. You can go back. Learning experience. You can get back up and walk again.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's many writers whose work I absolutely love, but I don't love everything they work on. You know,
there's
and so I have to, you know, we have to realize that's going to happen to us, right? You know, you're gonna come out with that story that you're like, man, I freaking kicked ass on this one, and then, you know, people are gonna read it and be like, nah, I liked that other thing you did, and then you'll be like, what, you know? But it's just a part of putting yourself out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right, man. I mean, I'm really, I don't know. I'm impressed with how much you've done. And you know, it's one of those things that inspires me to want to do more. It really does. So if I want to get issue 2, is that an add-on?
It is. Yeah. So like if you just pick like issue 3, you know, you can pick whichever cover you want, and then it'll take you to the add-on screen, and it'll have all the different cover options for issues 1 and 2. And so you can get, you know, cover A of issue 2, or, you know, any other variant that you want. But
see, this needs more backers, that thing.
No kidding. That's what I kept telling people. And I did have an early bird, so it doesn't show it on there. I had like an exclusive early bird.
I think I saw it down here.
Yeah, so it did get backers, you know, even more backers on there. But I've been sharing it around as much as possible, and there's still a lot of people who signed up who haven't pledged yet. I'm sure a lot of them, you know, are waiting for, you know, they like to be dramatic and they want to wait until the end of the campaign and whatnot, which is totally fine. But I always tell people, like we were kind of talking about earlier, is like the faster we fund, the more stretch goals we can hit. The more stretch goals we can hit, we can use those not only for really cool things and add-ons and whatnot, but we can use all that extra money into the next issue and get the next issue out as soon as possible. I mean, I've sometimes thought about doing a stretch goal that's like double the amount for this issue, and being like, hey, if we hit 9,000, you guys will get issues 4, or, you know, 3 and 4. You know what I mean? It's like if we can hit this amount, you know, it all goes to the book. It all goes to the book, and it all goes to the printing and art and the production, the lettering, all that stuff. So comics are not cheap, especially if you want to put out quality stuff.
Absolutely. No, they're not. But they're cheaper than if you were to do a movie adaptation.
Yes, yes.
But
No
that's not
kidding.
saying much. But I was like, oh, they're cheap. Okay, well, trading up.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's. And then you start seeing, oh, what I have to pay to, and then there's obviously hidden expenses, things you didn't get, printing costs. Oh my God,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
realize,
Yeah. Especially
So
full color. Yeah, full color books. Black and white books are like half the cost usually, but if you're doing a full color graphic novel, it's going to cost a lot.
oh yeah, I'm seeing it.
You would know, right?
I was like, oh man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, the price is about to go up. I'm like, I gotta hit this. So like that's why I remember I was like, oh my God, we're closing out in like a week. We gotta go.
Yep.
And then and then I'm like, oh my God, it's not print ready yet. I gotta fix something.
The life of a comic book creator, the things that keep you up at night.
Yeah, the things I'm like, I want to get this done, and then there's so much back, forth,
Yeah.
back, and I'm sure it'll get smoother now that I have like or does it not?
You have a taste for it, right? Yeah.
But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. It's always great talking to you, man.
Thank you, dude. No, likewise.
Your stuff. Yeah, we'll talk more. Are you going to New York Comic Con?
I'm not. I don't have the funds for that right now, but I hope to soon. I hope I can hit some bigger cons next year. That's kind of my goal.
Yeah, well, we'll figure something out. I'm trying to get people to just like organize as many meetups as possible.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
so
that'd be so cool.
I definitely want to hit the convention scene when I get my book. That's something I want to do for sure.
Yeah, no kidding, man. You find a lot of people who don't, use crowdfunding at all, who customers and creators, and you get to meet so many great people. It's
crowdfunding is a tiny % of the audience. The comic book audience and the general public audience too. Like, crowdfunding, you got to step outside the bubble. You have to, or like bring those people into crowdfunding.
Yeah,
a lot of my people. There are people I've met, like personal friends. There's some guy I met at a bar I was talking to who added me on Facebook, and then he goes, "Oh," and then he backs my comic.
Nice.
Everyone, there's potential customers everywhere. You got to leave the house sometimes. You gotta.
You do. Yeah. You just got. People always ask me, "What do you do?" And I'm always like,
"You got everything." Is your answer, I assume?
Well, no. I'm like, I write comics. And then they're like, "Oh, cool. Like, what have you written?" And I'm like, well, check out my new campaign. Like, this is an idea, right? So
yeah. Well, everyone, make sure you back Man-Child. I definitely want to get this book. Yeah, I'll try not to wait too last minute, but I will keep this tab open. I do want to back this book. It looks fantastic.
And the thing about Kickstarter that's different from Indiegogo is that, of course, funds are not taken out until the end of the month. So
people are flakier. I noticed too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's not taken out to the end of the month. Okay, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, and only if we hit the goal, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, like of course, I hope we can hit it, and I want to hit it as soon as possible. But even if we do hit it, it's not until October 30th that the campaign will end, and then that's when the funds are taken out. So
only 50 of these Steve Epting covers.
So I had that in the early bird and the regular, but if there's more demand, if we sell out of 50, I can definitely print more. So
that's awesome. That is a low print run, especially for a Steve Epting cover. So definitely get on that.
Yes. Yeah, I try to keep all my variant covers, variant worthy, right? Where it's like, I'm not going to be printing hundreds of these, and of course the print run, I need to, make sure that the gross and the margins are right and all that stuff. But when it comes to my variants, I want, that's why they cost a little bit more. And that's why, not only is it a big name artist, but it's a very limited quantity. So, I want people to feel like they're getting something special that they won't be able to find anywhere else.
Gotcha. All right. So that sounds good. Anything else you want to say before we head out?
Nah, man, this has been an amazing time. I really appreciate chatting with you. We didn't get to talk about the prequels though. We should have done that.
Oh, I said that. You know what?
We'll have to. Maybe we should do like a separate stream where it's like we're talking about.
I haven't rewatched
Star Wars
movies and dude, I have to rewatch some of those movies I haven't seen in over 10 years.
Oh, okay.
More than some of them. A lot of them actually, I have to confess. So.
Yeah, you should do that. Yeah, I'm a very vocal. Well, I used to be vocal. I'm not so much anymore because I kind of gotten tired of the conversation around Star Wars. But
I got tired of Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm a huge prequel fan. To me, they're my Star Wars. They're my bread and butter. But there's a whole list of reasons why. I of course I love the original trilogy. But there are reasons why I feel the way I do. So we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. I'm not sure who my next guest is, but I'm figuring it out. But until then, have a great rest of your day, and I'm going to play the trailer for Phenomenova as we head out. Have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and I'll be seeing you guys. Oh, and Backman Child. When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new. Something greater to be born, and with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenova. For you, Dad. For you.